Long ago and far away, in enchanted lands across the seas, lived kings and queens, princes and princesses, good fairies and wicked witches, ferocious giants and gentle dwarfs. Their adventures and stories have been told for hundreds of years. Open the pages and listen to the words, and you too can join the magical world of Once Upon a Time.
The Nutcracker. Once upon a time, there lived a brother and sister called Marie and Fritz. One Christmas Eve, when the snow was falling heavily outside, they were allowed to open one Christmas present each. Marie's present was a beautiful nutcracker in the shape of a soldier. Uncle Rudolph had bought the nutcracker soldier for Marie. He always gave her a very special present for Christmas. "What a handsome soldier you are," said Marie. And he was indeed handsome, with his dark moustache that curled up at the ends and his smart white uniform with gold trim. "You shall live on the top shelf with all my favorite toys." But as she lifted the doll to put him out of harm's way, Fritz snatched him out of her hands. "What a stupid present," he said. "He's not even a proper soldier." "Oh, please don't hurt him," begged Marie, bursting into tears. Fritz ignored her plea. He shook the nutcracker so hard that some of its teeth fell out. "You won't be able to use this now," he said. And then Fritz danced around the room, holding the nutcracker high above his head. "Catch me if you can," he shouted. But every time Marie tried to grab him, Fritz leapt across the room. Marie made one desperate leap towards Fritz, but the wicked boy hurled the wooden nutcracker across the room. It landed underneath the Christmas tree, so Marie went to pick it up. Gently she lifted the soldier nutcracker. He didn't look very handsome now, with his front teeth missing. "Look, his arm is broken," she cried. Her father carefully mended the nutcracker's arm. Then Marie sat him on the top shelf with her other dolls. "Sweet dreams, little nutcracker," said Marie, before she went to bed. That night, when everyone in the house was asleep, Marie crept downstairs to see if the nutcracker was all right. She had been worrying about him. But what a sight met her eyes when she opened the sitting room door. "I must be dreaming," she said. A few inches away stood an army of mice, their bright little eyes sparkling like diamonds against black velvet. The little creatures squeaked and scampered about all over the place. They looked as if they were all set to go to battle. Suddenly, the Mouse King stepped forward. He was wearing a little golden crown, and he squeaked louder than the rest of the mice. His army gathered round him, and when he said, "Charge!" they started marching towards the Christmas tree. "Oh no! Please keep away from the Christmas tree!" cried Marie. "Don't spoil the presents!" But the mice kept on marching straight for it. As the mice edged closer and closer to the tree, Marie heard another battle cry. "Charge!" The nutcracker soldier had leapt off the shelf and was leading the toy soldiers into battle against the mice. He was brandishing a long silver sword. "Get back, all of you, or I'll chop off your heads!" he cried. His sword swished through the air as he spoke. "Oh, isn't he brave?" whispered the China doll. "Hurrah for the nutcracker!" cried Marie. Then the Mouse King stepped forward. "I am the king of the mice, and you can't frighten me!" he squeaked. Still the army of mice kept on marching towards him. The little army seemed to be growing by the minute. The nutcracker knew he could deal with a few mice, but not a whole army. In desperation, he called the rest of the toys, and they all jumped down from the shelves. "We'll help you!" they all cried.
I'm coming! I'll help you!
Soon, the floor was littered with dolls, all keen to help in the battle against the mice.
Come on!
The mice may have been small, but they were certainly crafty. In no time, they brought most of the toys down by tripping them up with their long, thin tails or by leaping at them with their sharp claws. If I could catch the Mouse King, then the battle would be over, thought the Nutcracker, when he saw most of the soldiers lying on the floor around him. But the Mouse King wasn't easy to catch. He kept scampering through the Nutcracker's legs. Every time the Nutcracker tried to chop off the Mouse King's head, he scurried out of the way.
Get him! That's it! That's it!
Then Marie saw the Mouse King trip the Nutcracker up with his tail.
Oh!
As he fell, the Mouse King pounced on him. So Marie threw her shoe and knocked the Mouse King out. "That's finished you!" she cried. But in all this commotion, Marie fell over, hurt her arm and fainted. When Marie woke up, it was the middle of the night. She was having an awful nightmare. She was dreaming that the King Mouse was chopping off the Nutcracker's head. She shouted out, "Oh, my little Nutcracker! Where's my little Nutcracker?" Her family and her Uncle Rudolph came rushing to her room. "It's all right, my dear," he said. "You were just having a nightmare." "Yes, everything's all right," said Uncle Rudolph. "Look, I've brought your Nutcracker friend to see you. He's even back to his old handsome self again, because I've given him his teeth back. Look at his dashing smile." "But I loved him just as he was," said Marie. "Well, I suppose you won't want to hear my story about him then," said Uncle Rudolph as he started to leave the room. "Oh, don't go," said Marie. "Tell me the story of the little Nutcracker. You're such a good storyteller." So her favourite uncle began to tell the story. Once upon a time, in a land far, far away, there lived a very grand royal family. The queen was a kind queen, and on one day of the year, the king's birthday, she always prepared a special banquet for him. On the day of the banquet, continued Uncle Rudolph, the queen went to the royal kitchens and started to prepare the king's favourite dinner. His favourite meal was, I must admit, rather a strange choice. It was lard and sausages. The queen was just about to put the lard into a saucepan with the sausages when she heard a tiny little voice coming from a corner of the kitchen. "Oh, do go on, Uncle Rudolph," said Marie impatiently. "Hush," said Uncle Rudolph. "I'll forget where I am. If you keep quiet, you will hear the little voice." Then Uncle Rudolph pretended to be the Queen Mouse.
Queen, Queen, I am your friend. I am the Queen of the Mice,
he said.
"I want to take part in your banquet. Please give me a cube of lard. My husband loves it."
So then, continued Uncle Rudolph, the Queen gave the mouse a piece of lard. After this, a whole army of mice came out of all the nooks and crannies in the kitchen and took the rest of the lard. The poor old king had to eat sausages without any lard at all, and the Queen was so angry that she banished the mice from the kingdom. "You'll regret this, but your baby daughter will regret it more," said the Mouse King as he skulked out of the kitchen for the last time.
It's time to turn over to side 2.